Hi everyone, welcome to episode 16, technically week 17 of the Alive to Thrive series with scarsandtiaras.com. I'm Angela Giles Klocke and I wanted to talk with you this week about permission. I've been talking a lot with my counselor about permission, or rather she's been trying to remind me to give myself permission for the things that I need, which is really interesting because this video was supposed to be made last Friday. And I woke up in a really bad place physically, health-wise. And I ended up losing the whole day to one of the most brutal migraines I've had in a really long time. And I remember lying there in bed trying to cover my face in the dark and trying to give myself grace for the fact that I was probably not getting out of that bed anytime soon. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, the best way to get through this right now is to give myself permission to not meet today's deadline, to not get the video done, to let all the work go, to just be in this moment, as painful as it is, and permission to just have one of those days that are just bad, a bad day. Now I want to tell you a story about an incident that happened several months ago when I was still in photo business. I had set up this appointment to meet with this senior and his dad, and we were going to take pictures in this public park. But we hadn't met before and we hadn't actually talked before either. And I was feeling nervous, as I often do, and most people do before they meet somebody new. But I had this really icky feeling. I was sitting in my car waiting and this truck pulled up beside me. And my gut told me something was weird, off, whatever. And it could have just been, my paranoia, my triggers from the past. But whatever the case is, the situation kind of escalated where I was feeling a little panicked. And I, at that point in time, gave myself permission to call my son, who is a police officer, and just talk with him. And I really just asked him if he could show up or if he was out on patrol. And he did show up, and there wasn't any kind of condemnation, any kind of my mom is so crazy, anything like that. There was a mutual understanding without even discussing it. And he and my beautiful daughter-in-law showed up. And it's really funny because they kind of watched this whole senior session from afar and to make sure that I was safe, and nothing happened with the icky feeling man. But the point was, something came up for me, something was happening. And while technically everything ended up okay, I had that permission with that safety with my son to be able to say, can you please come help me? I'm having a moment. And I even tried to play it off as, oh, never mind, it's fine, I'm just being paranoid. But he showed up anyways. And I think one of the biggest things that we need to be able to do as we're learning to thrive, as we're healing from this painful past, is to know that the people who care about us have given us the permission to lean on them. And we have to give ourselves permission to allow ourselves to lean on them. Because it's so hard sometimes to ask for help. It's so hard sometimes to sound like you're crazy, like you're feeling crazy and maybe paranoid and what is wrong with me. But that's all part of what's happened to us in the past. And I truly believe that our guts give us really good insight into things that are a little icky around us. And so I don't know what the intention of the person who parked next to me was. He might have been a lovely, wonderful guy. He might not have been. But I've learned to listen, and I stayed locked in my car and I called for help. And I think that's what's really important, that permission. And so as I'm thinking about permission and how that applies to the healing and the thriving, that was the first story that came to mind, is that I just had to give myself permission to reach out and say, I'm scared right now and I need help. And in turn, my son gave me the permission to do that, and that safety, that comfort to do that by showing up and without any kind of mockery. And I think sometimes we assume that others don't understand, and even though somebody may not have gone through the same trauma that we have, they still love us and they still understand. They may not have that personal understanding, or they might, and we don't know it. But what a lovely gift to be able to give to someone else, whether you think of it that way or not, as to say, hey, you're a safety place for me. I feel safe with you. I feel comfort with you. So I'm calling on you right now to help me. Who are those people in your life? Who can you lean on? Who has given you permission without even realizing they've given you permission, without you realizing they've given you permission? Who can you lean on to say, I need help? Another way permission works is for rest. My counselor talks with me quite frequently about my need to stay busy, or how I will beat myself up even if I'm not meaning to, if I'm having a lazy day. Thursdays, for example. I go to Toastmasters very early in the morning, and then I go to work all day. And somewhere during that day, I build up this anticipation for everything I'm going to get done when I get home. Typically, my husband goes to work, and it's myself, just me, myself, and my dog at home. And I build this list sometimes of all of these things I want to get done. And then I actually get home after my commute, and I feel like, I really just want to sit down and relax. I really just want to maybe veg out on some TV and watch something. But there's all this noise that goes on in my head sometimes that tells me, no, you need to be doing. How will you be successful as a writer, as a speaker, as a person, as a woman? How will you be successful if you're just sitting down watching TV? How will you be successful if you're not doing? And I know that that's an outside way of thinking, but it's integrated into my brain. My pathways say do. And so if I'm sitting on the couch, there's that part of me that's saying, okay, but you need to have your notebook so you're making notes and still working. Okay, you at least need to be crocheting something so you're creating. You at least need to be jotting down something in your journal. This multitasking idea that I need to do. And so I talk with my counselor about that, and she keeps asking me, why do you feel that need? And so I keep saying that. Well, I want to be successful. And I forget that successful people also rest. And if you listen to all the voices are going to tell you that you need to get up at the butt crack of dawn, and you need to stay up until, midnight if you're going to be successful. And you start looking at that and you're thinking, how do I thrive in that? How do I enjoy life in that? How do I even, find space for healing in that? When you think about rest, there's healing in rest. There's healing in sleep. There's literal healing when you sleep. When you sleep well, your body works on healing, and so does your mind. So these things are kind of countering against each other. They don't go hand in hand. So I've been learning, really learning to give myself permission to just rest, that I don't need to do. If I don't make my deadline like last Friday, the world didn't end. Surprise! The world didn't end. I know. And yet, in my mind, I was thinking, oh my gosh, all these people, noise, chaos. How do you feel better and heal from that? You just don't. So I want you to look at what you need to give yourself permission to do. Do you need permission to rest like I do? Do you need permission to just do one thing at a time? You don't need to be juggling all the time. I mean, seriously, society has told us that we need to be spinning those plates and juggling over here, and we're sitting here going, oh my gosh, I'm falling apart. I can't do this. You don't have to. And I'm really going through that in my mind over and over. I don't have to do what all the advice says. And I get the irony that I'm giving you advice, telling you you don't have to do what advice tells you. But just from this woman's perspective, I have been learning that I can readjust my schedule however I want to adjust my schedule. Yes, there's work. Yes, there are things. But I don't have to go to bed by this time and wake up by this time every single day. Nothing became more apparent about that than last Sunday when, because I'd had that migraine on Friday, I had this work that I needed to redo, this writing I needed to redo because of another series of unfortunate events involving a laptop breakdown. And I knew with my grandson over the weekend, I wasn't going to have a lot of time to really focus and engage in that work. So by the time the evening came of Sunday, the day that I needed to turn this in, it needed to be done, all I had were some notes and the memories of what I'd previously written. And I sat there and I thought to myself, okay, I have two choices. I can admit defeat and tell my friend who has hired me and trusted me to do this job, I can tell her, I'm not going to make it. And I'm putting the work back on her. That is an option. That's an option. Give yourself permission sometimes to opt out. But I really wanted to do this, and so my second option was to just do it. And it's not about just do it. It was about saying, I give myself permission to stay up late. That's okay. And then I give myself permission the next day to not get up early. And that's okay. And I have to tell you, that's a really difficult thing for me to do, because without realizing it, I'm set in this pattern of I must do, and I must do it according to whoever said this. Whoever said I need to do it this way to have the best successful day. What about what I want and what I need? So that's what I want you to ask yourself this week. What about what I want and need? What do I need to give myself permission for? And as my counselor said, if you have to sit down and write yourself a permission note, then write yourself a permission note. First she said, if you want your husband to sign off on that. And I was like, no. See, the problem is the world already tells me what to do. And not that my husband tells me what to do, but I need this to be my permission. So write yourself a note. I, Angela Giles Klocke, give myself permission to rest, to achieve at a level that is more my way, is more me. Not all these big names that tell me I need to do it this way. Advice is beautiful, but you have to let go of this need to take all the advice. So give yourself permission this week. I'm excited. And I want to tell you this really quickly. This video is running a little long, but I want to say this. I'm giving myself permission also to change the ideas that I originally had for Scars and Tiaras, to change it into something a little bit different. And that's going to be rolling out over the next several days. So giving myself permission to let go of the original idea and move into something else, that's a little tough. And I think we sometimes get stuck in where we thought something should go, but I'm allowing it, like myself, to grow. And so watch to see what happens. I'm still kind of formulating the ideas, but I'm allowing that to happen instead of staying in this strict, no, this was the plan, it has to stay that way mindset. So permission to change, permission to grow, permission to have a new idea and let it just explode, and permission to be you. I'm giving myself permission to be me. I give you permission to be you, but you don't need it from me. Give it to yourself and whatever else you need. I will catch you next week at scarsandtiaras.com, or maybe at alivetothrivejorney.com instead. We'll see. I'm Angela, and I thank you, and I'm grateful for you every single day.